Welcome, my political friends of the interwebs. What you are looking at is a box of Kroger Value Cornflake cereal and some Spanish shit underneath that I'm assuming says the same thing. But I don't know, because my Espanol is not so good. No Espanol. And of course some voodoo dolls. Whatever. So why are you looking at a box of Value Cornflakes? Well, it's simple. Well, you know what? Let me go about it this way. Some of you who've been with me for a while also know who Colonel Salty Shellback is. Yes, the Colonel is an awesome YouTuber, an extremely, shall we say, supportive YouTuber. This is the kind of guy you want in your life. There will be a link to him, by the way. Trust me when I tell you, you'll want to subscribe to the Colonel. All right. I know there's a lot of Colonels. I just happen to be one of them. All right, well, anyway, Salty Shellback, I don't know how many months ago, had a little contest. I don't know that it was much of a contest. It's hard to remember. I think it was more of a challenge, and it was basically, if I could remember right, and I'll probably butcher this, but basically how to eat on, what was it, $10 or $20 a week? Something like that. Anyway, when I did his little challenge, one of the things I came up with was this Kroger Value Corn Flakes cereal. Now, listen, when I did this challenge, this box, 14-ounce box of corn flakes, which, by the way, they're not half bad. I mean, they're not great, but they're not half bad. 14-ounce box of corn flakes were $1, either 99 cents or $1. I think it was 99 cents. I'd have to look back at my old video, but I do know it was right around $1. And I remember thinking, you know what, for $1, because you can eat, I don't know. Well, it depends. I'm kind of a Jethro Bodine type of cereal eater, but you could probably make that that box last you for breakfast for a week for $1. That'd be one meal for a week for $1. Seriously, I mean, you know, but having said that, that was then, this is now. We're going to talk inflation. We're going to talk a lot of things, including ethanol. Because, listen, I just bought this box a couple of days ago. It was no longer $1. No, it was closer to $1.50. Now, you know, yeah, it's still cheap, $1.50. But that's a huge increase, percentage-wise. That's ginormous. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, every time I go to the grocery store, I get sticker shock. I'm just like, holy crap, you know, you can't afford to be a fat guy anymore. It just, you know, you just can't. You know, I mean, hell, a box of Kraft mac and cheese, you know, old school yellow powder stuff. You know, that stuff is, which used to be, what, 69 cents a box, 79 cents a box? You know, now it's like $2. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everything's regional, so it probably depends on where you're at in the country, but everything is going through the roof. Now, some of it, of course, has to do with fuel prices, because clearly, in order for this box to get to the store, it travels by tractor trailer. Well, hell. From the farm field to the grain silo, from the grain silo to the to the manufacturer, to the store. I mean, it's being transported nonstop, and all that takes fuel. Yes, I realize that definitely adds to the cost of said cornflakes. However, I really do think a big part of it, though, is that whole ethanol bullshit. I really do. This whole green nonsense. Now, listen, I know if you've been with me for any length of time, you know that I can get up on a high horse and start beating that green nuts. I mean, beat it into the ground. I'm not going to do that this video. I'm just going to say that's part of the puzzle. That's part of the puzzle. When you start using food for fuel, as opposed to, you know, fuel for fuel, when you start taking fuel or food and manufacturing fuel out of it, unnecessarily in my opinion, you get things like inflated costs to food, especially food that evolves around corn. Corn. Because the price of corn goes up. Now listen, I've been very blessed to have met a couple of farmers on the interwebs in the last couple of years, and there's a lot of money in corn these days. There's a ton of money in corn these days, because it's now become oil, you know, for all intents and purposes. I mean, it's become fuel. And, you know, I don't know that once you've opened that bottle up, I don't know you get the genie back in. because, you know, there's a lot of people now that are just making, money hand over fist on this deal. In fact, I think it was Frank Lucas that called it the what do you call it, the corn game? It's like it's like Vegas. It's a corn game, baby. Get up and load up. I don't know. But anyway, that's part of it. Another part of it is just inflation, the overprinting of money. Your money's not worth as much anymore. You don't get as much bang for the buck, or you don't get as much cornflakes for the buck. In fact, you don't get a box of cornflakes for $1 anymore. So I mean, I don't know, how much that has to do with it. I'm sure this, like I said, it's a pie. There's several slices to the pie, or several pieces to the puzzle, however you want to put it. What I do know is that the price of food is starting to skyrocket. It's literally starting to skyrocket. Which reminds me, by the way, for if I have any liberals that stumble upon my channel, and from time to time I do. If I have any liberals that stumble upon my channel, let it be known that your liberal nonsense policies do not help the poor. They don't. They don't help the poor. All they manage to do is make the poor poorer. Basically, make the poor poor. Literally. It's so commonsensical. I mean, I'd love to go over it with you, because... Well, I'd love to, but the fact of the matter is it'd be like beating my head against a brick wall. Because, bottom line, liberal policies lead to misery. Liberal policies lead to inflation. Liberal policies lead to food becoming very, very expensive. But, hey, if you are of the type of person to be on food stamps, I know I shouldn't put it like that, because a lot of good people are on food stamps thanks to the president. But if you are one of those people who have basically lived your entire lives on government assistance, it ain't no big deal, because, Uncle Sugar's going to buy your food. They'll just give you more food stamps. They'll adjust it for inflation or whatever they're going to do. You're not going to starve, and you know how to work the system anyway. The people that don't know how to work the system are the poor bastards that were working but are now on assistance, and they're kind of like, I don't know how this works, but I just know one thing. Some people are making out like bandits, and I'm starving. In fact, I knew a guy who pretty much lost everything, and he was getting food stamps, a very proud Polak, and he proud Polak. I mean, he'd tell you that himself. And I tell you what, I know that it was killing him to accept food stamps. I know it was. But the fact of the matter is he didn't have any choice. But you know how much he was getting? Now, this is a man who worked his entire freaking life. And I want to say he was probably into his 60s by this point. Okay, put 2 kids through school, was a contributor, never took from the government, always was the one that was paying into the government. And I think when I talked to him, he was so disgusted. Because when he needed help, okay, when he needed help, I believe he told me he was getting $16 a month on food stamps. That's it. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, but, it probably has to do with his assets. Well, yeah, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. He didn't know how to play the game. He had too many things in his name. He had accumulated too much throughout his life. You buy a fishing boat because, you like to fish and you've earned it. You go to work 50, 60 hours a week. You buy yourself a fishing boat. Okay, that boat's an asset. You list your assets. I mean, at $16 a month. So, yeah, of course, people are, well, he's going to sell his fishing boat. Yeah, he's got to sell his fishing boat. Got to sell a fishing boat. Got to sell this, got to sell that. Got to make sure that you get down there low enough to where they can actually give you enough food stamps to live on, to eat. So anyway, liberal policies lead to misery. Liberal policies in both energy policy and Fed policy literally has led to us going to Kroger's and going, holy shit. I wouldn't even shop at Walmart. You know what's funny? Walmart's so-called everyday low prices. No. A little head of lettuce was like $2.80, and it wasn't any bigger than my goddamn fist. I mean, what the hell? So, anyway, listen, I'm not going to ramble on too much longer, but I will tell you this. I want y'all to chime in the comment section and let me know what you've observed at your grocery stores. Or if your wife does the shopping, let me know what she's observed. Or if your husband does the shopping, let me know what he observes. But let me know what you see, because I'll tell you what I see. I see prices going insane. That's what I see. I see the dollar becoming worthless. That's what I see. I mean, you know, I remember hearing stories about in a Weimar Republic where they had to take a wheelbarrow full of money to go get a loaf of bread. How far away from that are we? Now I know, yeah, it sounds crazy when I'm talking about, well, it's only $1.50. It was a buck. What are you talking? Listen, that's a huge increase. I don't care how you slice it. All right, well, listen, guys. Let me know in the comment section what you think. You know, I know I'm not crazy on this, so you know, whatever. If you're a liberal and you stumble on this, you'll probably still think I'm crazy just because you're a liberal idiot. But you know, it is what it is. Everybody, take care. See ya.